When I turned 79, I lit the candles. No one came. That same night, my daughter told me I should move into a nursing home. I'm glad you're here. Follow my story until the end, and let me know the city you're watching from. I want to see how far my truth travels. I always believed birthdays were sacred, not because of the cake or the gifts, but because it's the one day you expect your family to remember. This year felt heavier. 79, a number that carried the weight of years lived. And years left. I wanted to make it special, so I set the table myself. The dining room smelled of cinnamon and vanilla. I'd baked my late husband's favorite pound cake, the one with lemon zest in the frosting. I even pulled out my good china, the white porcelain plates with the thin silver rim. 8 place settings. 1 for each person I believed would come. I had called my daughter 2 days earlier. Dinner at 6, I said cheerfully. She promised she'd be there. I pictured her walking through the door, grandkids running into my arms, the room filled with laughter, the way it used to be. I even ironed the tablecloth, the floral one we used for Easter dinners, placed fresh roses in a vase, lit a dozen candles. The house glowed, warm, inviting, waiting. At 6 o'clock sharp, I smoothed the wrinkles of my dress, navy blue with pearl buttons, the one my husband once said made me look elegant. I sat at the head of the table and waited. The clock ticked loudly. The roast chicken grew cold in the oven. The candles burned shorter, wax dripping onto the cloth. Still, I told myself, traffic? Maybe a late start? Maybe they stopped to get balloons. 7 o'clock came. Still silence. I picked up my phone. No missed calls. No texts. I dialed my daughter, straight to voicemail. I tried my sister. Nothing. I stared at the untouched plates, my hands trembling slightly. The chocolate cake on the counter looked too perfect, like a cruel joke. By 8, I knew. No one was coming. The house felt different, not peaceful, but hollow, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. I blew out the candles one by one. The smoke curled into the silence. My reflection in the dark window looked smaller, diminished, a woman who had given everything to her family and received absence in return. But then I made the mistake of opening Facebook, and that's when my chest cracked open. There they were. All of them. My daughter radiant in a red dress, her husband smiling wide, the children laughing, faces glowing, under restaurant lights. The caption read, "So grateful for this amazing family night, everyone was there. Everyone except me." The timestamp showed the photos were posted an hour earlier, while I was sitting alone, waiting by my birthday cake. Zoomed in on the photo. My daughter stood exactly where I should have been, at the center, surrounded by the people who were supposed to love me most. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. The candles had gone out. But the fire inside me had just begun. Would you forgive them, or would you finally walk away? I didn't sleep that night. The house was too quiet, too heavy. Every tick of the clock was a reminder of their absence. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my chest tight. The roast still sat cold in the oven, the cake untouched in the fridge, as if the night had been waiting to be rewound. Morning light crept through the curtains, but it didn't feel like morning. It felt like an aftershock. I shuffled to the kitchen, wrapped in my robe. The table was still set, candles half burned, china plates gleaming in silence. It looked like a stage abandoned mid-performance. I sat down, hands folded on the table, and whispered to no one. They left me. By habit, I picked up my phone, and there it was. More photos. My daughter posting, best family dinner in months, smiling faces, clinking glasses. A cake with sparklers, not mine. Every like, every comment from friends saying beautiful family felt like a blade. I scrolled further, and the pattern revealed itself. Christmas last year. They said it would be small. Just immediate family. I'd eaten reheated leftovers alone, but the photos showed a house full of people. 20 guests, laughter, lights, a tree glowing behind them. Easter brunch. I was told they'd canceled, but there they were. Egg hunts in the backyard. My grandchildren laughing in pastel outfits. Every occasion, every memory, they had erased me. My hand trembled as I set the phone down. This wasn't forgetfulness. This wasn't miscommunication. This was deliberate, a decision, a pattern, and I had been blind to it. The doorbell rang that evening, my daughter. Her smile looked polished, but her eyes, they avoided mine. "Happy birthday, Mom," she said, holding a white box from the bakery. Half a cake, sliding in its container, frosting smeared on the lid. "It's been such a busy week. We thought you'd understand. We, not I, we." She set the box on the counter, as if that would erase the empty chairs from the night before. Then she cleared her throat. "Mom, we need to talk." Her tone was too practiced, too final. I braced myself, my palms pressing against the cool surface of the table. "You shouldn't be living here alone anymore," she began. "This house is too much for you. The stairs, the upkeep, the bills." Her voice softened, but the words cut sharper than any shout. "We've been looking at nursing homes. They're lovely, safe, clean activities, everything you'd need." I stared at her. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The birthday candles, the empty table, the Facebook posts, they all collided with this moment. This wasn't concern. This was convenience. She wasn't offering me care. She was moving me out. And in that silence, I finally heard the truth. They didn't just want to leave me out of their lives. They wanted to take mine apart. Her phone buzzed. A message lit up. I caught a glimpse. A real estate agent's name. A house listing. Our address. My home already in play. Thought. Air grew colder. The walls felt narrower. I folded my arms, holding myself together. She kept talking, listing benefits of assisted living, but I heard nothing, only the echo of last night, the empty chairs, the caption, "Best family dinner," and now this, my birthday gift, was exile. After she left, the house grew silent again. I sat by the table, the bakery box staring back at me, half a cake, half an effort, half a daughter. I touched the edge of the cardboard lid, cold, sticky, empty. The silence pressed in until I whispered, "This isn't care. This is erasure." That night, I couldn't stop replaying her words. "Too much for you. Assisted living. Everything you'd need." Every phrase dripped with finality. Not a conversation, a decision. And my birthday was just the stage to deliver it. The next morning, I opened the curtains. The garden stretched outside, overgrown but alive. I had planted every rose bush with my husband. Every season carried his touch. The thought of leaving this place, of strangers tearing down the ivy, painting over the memories, it made my stomach twist. I made coffee, but my hands shook too much to drink it. Instead, I opened my laptop, pulled up my daughter's social media, post after post, her smiling, my grandchildren glowing, family gatherings, birthdays, holidays, and always, always I was absent, like a ghost who never existed. I remembered Christmas. She had told me it would be too stressful for me. Just stay home and rest, Mom. I did, and ate dinner alone, but the photos told the truth. A packed house. Laughter, even neighbors invited, everyone but me. Then Easter. She told me brunch was canceled, but there they were, the children hunting eggs, her dress bright in the sun, the caption, "Blessed to have this family. Everyone smiling, everyone complete, without me." I scrolled further back. My grandson's school play. She told me it was postponed, but the pictures showed him on stage. Paper crown, big grin, and her, in the kiar. Front row clapping, my chair, empty. The realization hit like ice water. This wasn't neglect, this was removal, deliberate, calculated, consistent. A pattern years in the making. I closed the laptop, my hands trembling. The house looked different now. Not warm, not familiar. It felt like evidence. Every photo on the walls, every frame, was proof of what I'd been losing piece by piece. I walked to the mantel, picked up a family portrait. 5 years ago. My daughter smiling at my side, the children hugging my arms. We looked whole. But looking now, I saw it differently. Her smile too, stiff, her eyes too sharp, like she already knew what she was planning. I whispered into the stillness. When did you decide I was disposable? The question hung in the air, unanswered. That evening, I sat in the kitchen with the lights off, the box of half-eaten cake still on the counter. Her words echoed again. We've been looking at nursing homes. It's for the best. And for... The first time, I felt the stirrings of anger. Hot, sharp, dangerous. They hadn't just forgotten my birthday. They had been rewriting my role in the family. From mother to burden. From host to outcast. From homekeeper to vacancy. And now, they were ready to take the final step. Move me out. Sell my house. Erase me completely. I pressed my palms flat on the table. The wood felt steady, cool against my skin. I won't. Let it happen, I whispered. For the first time in years, the words didn't feel weak. They felt like a vow. The next week, she came back, not with balloons, not with an apology, but with papers. I watched her place the folder on my kitchen table, the same table still holding faint wax stains from the candles that never got blown out. Mom, she said carefully, we just need to get a few things in order. Her tone was sweet, too sweet, like syrup hiding poison. I reached for my glasses, opened the folder. Contracts, agreements, lines of fine print. At the top, residential care facility admission form. My chest tightened, and behind it, another stack, real. Estate listings. My address circled in blue ink. I looked up. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. It's time, Mom. The house is just too much for you. You'll be happier somewhere safe, with people your own age. She slid a pen toward me. The click echoed like a gavel. I didn't move, didn't touch the pen. Instead, I asked quietly, "And what happens to this house?" Her lips pressed together. For a moment, silence. Then, a practiced answer. We'd take care of it. Sell it, probably. Use the money for your care. Care. The word stung like vinegar. I sat back in my chair. Every memory in these walls pressed against me. The wallpaper my husband and I had chosen. The garden he planted. The nights I tucked my daughter into bed upstairs, all reduced now to numbers. On a page, assets to be liquidated. She leaned closer, her perfume sharp, her voice sharper. Mom, this is really for the best. If you love us, sign it. I felt my breath hitch. Love. That was the weapon now. Not honesty, not care, but guilt. Sign or be the unloving mother. Sign or be the problem. I closed the folder slowly, pushed it back toward her. No. Her eyes narrowed. The sweetness cracked. Mom, she said firmly, her tone no longer gentle. Don't make this harder than it has to be. You can't keep living here. It's selfish. Selfish. The word hit harder than any shout. I stood, my knees stiff but steady. This house is mine, I said. Your father and I built our lives here, and I'm not leaving. Her face hardened. The smile was gone. Now it was just calculation. She gathered the papers, snapping the folder shut. You'll regret this, she muttered. Things will get more difficult. The words lingered like a threat, a promise wrapped in disappointment. Then she left, heels clicking against the floor, the door slamming behind her. The house shook with the silence she left behind. But this time I wasn't broken. Was awake. Her mask had slipped. The truth was exposed, and I finally knew. This wasn't about care. It was about control. I walked to the fireplace, looked at the family portrait again. The smiles, the closeness, all an illusion. Now I could see the cracks, and for the first time I let myself feel it fully. The betrayal, the grief, the anger. But beneath it all, a new ember glowed. Resolve. I wasn't signing anything. I wasn't leaving my home. If they wanted to erase me, they would have to fight, and they had no idea how much fight I still had. The folder was gone. But the weight of it lingered. Every page, every line burned into my mind. They wanted my house. They wanted me out. And suddenly, the silence of my home felt like a courtroom, walls holding secrets, waiting for me to notice. That night, I couldn't sit still. I pulled open drawers, cabinets, boxes I hadn't touched in years. Old bank statements, tax returns, letters from the lawyer my husband once trusted. Stacks of paper I had always assumed were too complicated. He had handled them. But now they might be my lifeline. I spread everything on the dining table, the same table they tried to sign away. Papers rustled under my trembling hands, but slowly, patterns began to emerge. Accounts, titles, insurance. My husband had left more than I realized. Careful planning, protections, and notes in his handwriting. Reminders, warnings, almost as if he had known. I found one envelope tucked inside a folder marked Estate, his handwriting across the seal. To Eleanor, if needed. My breath caught. I opened it carefully. Inside, a copy of his will, and a clause I had never seen before. Any descendant who attempted to coerce me into leaving the family home would be disinherited. My knees went weak. I gripped the edge of the table. He had seen this coming. He had known. Not about this exact moment, but about the temptation, the greed, and he had tried to shield me. Tears blurred the words on the page, but beneath the grief, a spark lit. I wasn't powerless. Not anymore. The next morning, I dressed carefully. Wool coat, scarf tucked under my chin, and drove to the lawyer's office, Martin Reynolds, my husband's old friend. The same man who had guided us through retirement papers and estate planning. He greeted me softly. Mrs. Blake. It's good to see you. I placed the will on his desk, my hands still shaking. I think my daughter is trying to force me out. I need to know what protections I have. He adjusted his glasses, read quietly, page after page. Then he looked up, his eyes serious. You're right to be cautious. This clause is valid. If your daughter pressures you, she risks losing everything. Relief washed over me, but it was brief, because with it came something sharper. Anger. They had tried to strip me of my home, my dignity, my place in this family, and all along they had no idea. They were standing on a trap my husband had left behind. Martin leaned forward. My advice? Don't confront her yet. Let her show her hand. The more she reveals, the stronger your position. I nodded. His words felt like armor. Driving home, the streets blurred past my window. I felt different. Not broken, not erased, but awake. Back in the house, I walked slowly through each room. The kitchen, the living room, the upstairs hallway lined with photos. For the first time in days, the silence felt steady. Not hollow, not accusing. This was my house. My life. And I wasn't letting go. That evening, my phone buzzed. A message from my daughter. Mom, did you think about the papers? We need to act soon. Act. As if I were a signature, not a person. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, then set the phone down, unanswered. I poured myself tea, sat at the table, and whispered to the empty room, they think I'm weak, but they don't know me at all. The next weekend, she returned. This time, she didn't come alone. Her husband trailed behind her, arms crossed, eyes scanning the house like a buyer at an open house. I felt my stomach tighten. She wasted no time. Placed the same folder on my table. Only, now it was thicker. Updated. Mom, she said briskly, we can't keep waiting. These facilities fill up quickly. We've found the perfect place. Her husband nodded, already reaching for the papers. Everything's arranged. You'll thank us later. I stayed seated, hands folded in my lap, my voice calm. Why the rush? Her eyes flicked to her husband, then back to me. Because this house is falling apart, Mom. It's unsafe, and you can't keep living like this. Unsafe. I glanced around. The polished wood floors, the sturdy banisters, the sunlight spilling across the rug. Not unsafe, unwanted. She pushed the pen toward me again, the click sharp. Final. Sign here. We'll handle the rest. For a moment, I let the silence stretch. Then I asked, my tone steady, and where will you live once I'm gone? Her face faltered. Just a flicker. But enough. Her husband cleared his throat. Well, it only makes sense to sell. The market's hot. We'd manage things. Manage, a neat word for take. I leaned back in my chair. The will's hidden claws burned like a secret in my pocket. They didn't know. Not yet. So I let them talk. List the benefits, the activities, the professional staff. Words rehearsed, too. Smooth, like a script, but every sentence revealed more. This wasn't about safety. It wasn't about care. It was about profit. Finally, my daughter leaned forward, her voice sharper now. Mom, please stop being difficult. We're trying to help you. Don't you want what's best for everyone? Everyone. The word stung, because in her definition, everyone didn't include me. Met her gaze, my voice quiet but unshaken. What's best for me is staying in my own home. Her jaw tightened. Her husband's hand twitched on the folder. The sweetness was gone now. Only impatience remained. She exhaled sharply. Mom, if you won't do this willingly, then you're leaving us no choice. We'll have to step in legally. The words hung heavy. Threat, ultimatum, final push. But inside me, something had shifted. Just days ago, I would have broken, collapsed under the weight of her words. Now I felt steady, anchored, because I knew something she didn't. Something her greed had blinded her to. My husband's voice echoed in memory. I'll always protect you, even when I'm gone. I stood, slowly, deliberately, my hands pressed against the wood table. the table they thought would witness my surrender, but instead, it became my stand. "No," I said firmly. "I'm not signing anything, and you will not threaten me in my own home." Her face flushed. Her husband muttered under his breath. Papers rustled. The pen clattered. For the first time, they looked rattled. And for the first time, I felt power return. She grabbed the folder, snapped it shut. "Fine," she hissed. "But don't. Expect us to keep waiting, we'll do what we have to." Then she stormed out. The door slammed. The house shook. But I remained standing, unmoved. The silence that followed wasn't hollow anymore. It was mine. And in that silence, I made a promise to myself. If they wanted a battle, they would have one. And I wasn't fighting alone. I had the will, the lawyer, the truth, and soon everyone would see who they really were. The house felt heavier after they left, but not with grief, with questions. Why so desperate? Why so urgent? It wasn't just about moving me. It was about the house, the money, the control, and I needed to know how far it went. I began with the bills, stacks of envelopes tucked into drawers. Electric, water, insurance, most were as expected, but one caught my eye, a property tax notice only. The mailing address wasn't mine. It was listed under my daughter's home. My pulse quickened. Why would my bills be sent there? I searched further, bank statements still unopened. I tore them open, one by one. And there it was. Withdrawals I didn't, make checks I didn't sign, transfers moving from my account into one with her name attached. Tens of thousands over the past 2 years. My throat went dry. She hadn't just tried to erase me from their lives. She'd been bleeding me quietly while smiling across the table. I sank into a chair, the papers shaking in my hands. Every memory replayed differently now. Her insistence on helping with finances, her offers to simplify things, her charm when she asked for signatures on papers I hadn't fully read. I thought it was support. It was theft. I felt my heart race, anger pounding through my veins. But then I remembered Martin, the lawyer's calm voice. Don't confront her yet. Let her reveal herself. The more she shows, the stronger your position. He was right. This was bigger than birthdays, bigger than loneliness. This was fraud, and I had proof. The next day I carried a folder of documents to his office, bank statements, tax notices, evidence I had pieced together overnight. He scanned each page. His jaw tightened. "This is serious," he said quietly. "If she's been moving your money without consent, she could face charges. Do not tell her you know." I nodded. But inside, I felt a storm brewing. This wasn't just betrayal. It was exploitation. A daughter draining her own mother, then demanding her house on top of it. Driving home, the streets blurred again. But this time, my grip on the wheel was steady. I wasn't the victim in this story anymore. I was the witness, the keeper of evidence. And soon, I would be the one exposing the truth. That evening, my phone buzzed again. Her message. "Mom, let's meet tomorrow. We need to finalize things." Finalize. As if my life were a contract waiting for her signature. I stared at the screen, then slipped the phone into my pocket. Tomorrow, she thought she'd win. But tomorrow, she'd be walking into her own trap. I went to the closet, pulled down an old box. Inside, my husband's fountain pen, the one he used to sign every important paper. I held it in my hand, the weight steady, the ink still faintly staining the nib. It felt symbolic. A reminder. He had trusted me to guard what we built, and I would not fail him now. I placed the bank statements beside it, the will, the tax notices, each piece of paper like a brick in a wall protecting me. And for the first time in weeks, I slept without fear, because I knew the fight had shifted. It wasn't me versus loneliness anymore. It was truth versus greed, and truth had weight. The next afternoon, they came back. My daughter, her husband, and this time, a real estate agent. Clipboard in hand. Eyes already scanning the walls, the ceilings, the square footage. I felt my chest tighten, but not with fear, with clarity. They weren't hiding it anymore. This was a takeover. "Mom," my daughter began, her voice brisk, businesslike. "We've set everything up. All you need to do is sign. We'll handle the rest." The agent smiled politely, as if I were a client, not a mother. I stayed seated at the head of the table, the same seat where my birthday had collapsed into silence. But this time, my hands didn't tremble. I folded them neatly, like a judge waiting for the case to begin. Her husband placed the folder down, the same pen, the same echo. "Mom, this is the right choice," he said firmly. "You'll be safer, and the house will finally go to good use." Good use. The phrase twisted my stomach, as if decades of love and memory were nothing but wasted space. I let the silence linger, long enough for them to grow restless. Then I spoke softly. "Funny. I've been looking at papers, too." Her eyes flicked. To mine. A flash of worry. Quickly masked. "What do you mean, Mom?" I tapped the table gently. "I found old bank statements. Transfers I don't remember making. Checks I don't remember signing." The room shifted. Her husband's jaw tightened. The agent looked confused, glancing between us. My daughter forced a laugh. "Mom, you're misremembering. We've just been helping you with bills." Her tone was sugar, but her hands, they fidgeted, leaned forward slightly. "And tax notices. Funny how they were redirected to your house, almost as if someone wanted me." Out of the loop. Her smile faltered. Just a crack. The agent cleared his throat, murmuring, "Should I come back another time?" Her husband shot him a look. "No. Stay." My daughter's voice sharpened. "Mom, you're confused. You've been under stress. That's why we're trying to make things easier for you." Confused. The word landed like a slap. Their favorite weapon now, doubt. But I didn't flinch. Instead, I straightened my back. Confused? No, I see clearly now, for the first time. The silence thickened. Her face paled slightly. I could have revealed the will, the clause that would disinherit her, the evidence of theft, but not yet, not today. Today, I wanted her to sweat. I smiled faintly. You should be careful. People who push too hard sometimes end up with nothing. Her husband's head snapped toward me. What's that supposed to mean? I let the question hang, offered no answer. The power of silence, the power of knowing more than they did. The agent shuffled awkwardly. Well, maybe I should, but my daughter cut him off. No, this is happening, Mom. Sign the papers. Now. She shoved the pen toward me, desperation creeping into her voice. I picked it up slowly, turned it in my hand. Felt the weight, her eyes locked on me. Hungry, tense. Then I set it down. Firmly. No. Her breath caught. Her husband cursed under his breath. The jet. Agent looked at the floor, clearly regretting his invitation to this circus. My daughter's voice cracked with anger. Why are you doing this? Why are you fighting us? We're your family. Family. The word sounded like an insult. I rose from my chair, stood tall despite the years in my bones. Family doesn't erase you from photos. Family doesn't drain your accounts. Family doesn't sell your home while you're still breathing in it. Her face drained of color. Her husband shifted uncomfortably, and the agent finally gathered his things and left quietly. The silence that followed was heavier than ever. But this time, it wasn't mine to carry. It was theirs. They had exposed themselves. And I had shown them I wasn't the weak woman they thought. My daughter's voice trembled, a mix of rage and panic. "You'll regret this, Mom. You don't know what you're doing." I met her gaze, calm, unbroken. "Oh, but I do. I know exactly what I'm doing. And soon, you'll know too." They stormed out again, the door slamming, the house shuddering, but I remained steady. Because now I had more than evidence. I had leverage, and they had no idea how close they were to losing everything. After they left, the house felt different. Not empty, not haunted, but armed. Every wall, every photograph, every drawer filled with paper. They weren't memories anymore. They were evidence. I gathered the documents again, bank statements, tax notices, the copy of the will, laid them out across the table, each sheet a weapon waiting to be drawn. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel powerless. I felt prepared. The next morning, I returned to Martin's office. He looked up as I entered. Concern shadowed his face. "They came back, didn't they?" he asked. I nodded. "Bolder this time, with a real estate agent in tow. They think the house is already theirs." His jaw clenched. "And you didn't sign anything?" I almost laughed, not even close. He leaned forward. "Then listen carefully. You're holding stronger cards than you realize. The will protects you. The financial records prove misconduct. If they press further, we can take this to court. But the longer you let them act, the more they expose themselves. Expose themselves." Yes, that was the key. He slid a new folder across the desk. Inside, legal affidavits, formal declarations. "Keep these close," he said. "If they force you, call me immediately. And Eleanor, don't let them intimidate you. They need you more than you need them." I clutched the folder, my fingers tight around the edges. For years, I believed I was the dependent one. Now I realized they were the ones dependent on me. On my house, on my money, on the inheritance dangling in front of them. Driving home, I felt something stirring in me. Not fear, not sorrow. Strategy. That evening, I walked through the house again, room by room, the study where my husband wrote his letters, the living room where birthdays once sparkled, the kitchen table where they had tried to break me. Each space reminded me, this wasn't just a house. It was a history, a legacy, and I would defend it. I began writing in a notebook. Every encounter, every threat, every visit, dates, times, words they had said. "If you love us, sign. You'll regret this. We'll step in legally, all of it documented, a record that would outlive their lies." At night, I placed the notebook on my bedside table. Beside it, the envelope from my husband's will. 2 guardians, 2 truths. Whispered to the silence, "I'm ready now." The next day, I received another message. "Mom will be back this weekend. Be prepared." Prepared. They thought I was unarmed. But the irony was almost sweet. I was more prepared than they could imagine. That weekend, I didn't set the table, didn't light candles. Instead, I brewed tea, placed the folder on the counter, and waited. The doorbell rang. I felt calm, because this time I wasn't the one cornered. They were. The door opened. They walked in, smiles too wide, voices too bright, but I saw it now. The desperation, the cracks in their performance, and I knew. Their act was almost over. The weekend arrived. The air felt heavy, as if the house itself was bracing for battle. I set the table with nothing but a teapot, steam curling slowly, calm and steady, and beside it, the folder of documents, my shield, my sword. The knock came sharp. 3. Raps. Impatient. I opened the door. There they were, my daughter, her husband. No smiles this time. Their eyes were already set on the table, on the empty seats, on the folder. She walked in first, her voice clipped, hard. "Mom, this has gone on long enough. You need to sign today. We can't waste more time." Her husband dropped the folder of contracts beside mine. The sound echoed through the room. "This is it. Last chance. Do the right thing." I stayed seated, hands folded neatly in my lap, breathing slow. Then I asked quietly, "The right thing? For who?" Her eyes narrowed. "For you. For us. For the family." Family. She still used that word like it meant something. I tapped my fingers lightly on my own folder. "And what about the withdrawals?" Her body stiffened. "What withdrawals?" "The ones from my account, tens of thousands, all transferred in two-way." "Yours." The silence that followed was sharper than any scream. Her husband leaned forward, defensive. "Mom, you're mistaken. You don't remember what you agreed to." I met his gaze, steady. "I remember enough, and I have the statements. Every..." "Last one?" I slid a page from the folder, placed it gently on the table. Her name, the numbers, undeniable. Her face paled. Her husband cursed under his breath. But I wasn't done. "And the property tax notices, redirected to your house. Why would you do that if... not to keep me blind?" I laid the envelope down beside the statements, the evidence stacking, the silence crushing. She reached for the papers, but I stopped her hand with mine. "No, you don't get to take them. You don't get to erase this." Her lips trembled, but no words came. Finally, I opened the last envelope. My husband's will. I unfolded it carefully, my hand steady as stone. "Do you know what this says?" She swallowed, shook her head faintly. I read aloud, my voice strong, "Any descendant who attempts to coerce my wife into leaving her home shall be disinherited. Effective immediately." The words hung in the air, each syllable a verdict. Her face collapsed. Her husband went silent. For once, they had no script to follow. Looked at them both. "You didn't just betray me, you betrayed him, and he saw you coming long before I did." She tried to speak, her voice breaking. "Mom, we were trying to..." "To what?" I cut her off. "Erase me? Bleed me dry? Sell the only home I've ever known?" My voice rose, stronger than I thought possible. "You wanted me? Powerless. But all along you were the one standing on quicksand." I pushed the folder toward them. "Not to sign, to show. Every word is documented, every threat written down, every dollar traced. Try to take me to court. I'll bring all of this, and you'll walk away with nothing." The silence after that was deafening. She stared at me. Not with love, not even with anger, but with something colder. Fear, because for the first time she realized the truth. The mother she thought was weak was the one holding all the power. Finally, her husband yanked the contracts off the table. "We're leaving," he muttered. She lingered a second longer, her eyes wet, but her jaw tight. Then she turned away, and the door closed behind them. The house exhaled, and so did I. I looked down at the folder, my husband's handwriting still marking the pages, and I whispered, "We did it. They won't take this from us." The silence that followed wasn't heavy anymore. It was freedom. The door closed. Their footsteps faded. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel abandoned. I felt free. I walked slowly through the house, room by room, touching the walls, the furniture, the photographs, the same walls they tried to strip from me, the same photographs they tried to erase me from. But now each one felt restored, mine again. In the living room, I sat down with my tea, steam rising, soft against my face. The silence wasn't hollow anymore. It was warm, peaceful. Like the house itself was breathing again. For weeks I had been waiting for someone to come, a knock, a visit, a sign of love. But now I realized something. I didn't need them to come. I didn't need their approval, their validation. I had survived 79 years before this moment. I could live the rest on my own terms. I walked into the study, opened the window, let the cool air drift in. On the desk, I placed the notebook I had filled. Every date, every threat, every truth. It wasn't just evidence anymore. It was a record of survival. My survival. I pulled down an old photo album, not the one my daughter had tucked away, but the one I had hidden. The one with every memory intact. Birthdays, vacations, anniversaries, smiles that were real, love that was once whole. And as I turned the pages, I whispered to myself, "This is who I am, not what they tried to make me." The phone rang that evening. Her number. I let it ring. For once, I didn't run to answer. Didn't hope. Didn't ache. I simply let it pass, because my peace wasn't dependent on her voice anymore. The next morning, I stepped into the garden. The soil, damp beneath my shoes, the air crisp with autumn. I knelt by the rose bush my husband had planted, the one she wanted bulldozed for resale value, and I whispered, "They're gone now, but I'm still here. We're still here." A petal fell softly into my palm. Like an answer, I spent the day writing letters, not to her, but to myself, to the woman I had forgotten. "Dear Eleanor, you are not weak. You are not disposable. You are not a burden. You are enough." I sealed the letter, placed it in the drawer beside my bed, a promise to myself. That night I lit a single candle, not for a birthday, not for anyone else, just for me. The flame flickered gently, and I closed my eyes, letting its glow remind me I wasn't waiting anymore. I was living. I realized then, freedom isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet choice to stay, to hold, to reclaim what was almost stolen. And I chose freedom. The candle burned low, its light soft, its flame steady. And in that glow, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. The house was quiet but not lonely. Every creak in the floorboards, every tick of the clock felt like music now, not reminders of absence, but proof of presence. I was still here. Alive. Unbroken. The next morning, I woke with no dread in my chest, no expectation of footsteps at the door. Instead, I brewed coffee, opened the curtains, and let the sunlight pour in. It touched the photographs on the walls, the ones they had tried to hide, the ones I had restored. Smiles of children, smiles of love, smiles of a life worth remembering. I sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where they tried to erase me. But today, I spread out my own papers, letters, diaries, recipes in my handwriting, not contracts, not schemes, not betrayal, just me. Later, I called Martin, not out of fear, but out of resolve. I want everything secured, I told him. No more loopholes, no more access. This house, this account, this legacy, they end with me, not with their greed. He agreed, and for the first time, I felt in control of my future. That evening, I went to the garden again. The roses swayed gently in the breeze, the ones my husband had planted years ago. I pressed my hand to the soil. Warm. Alive. I kept it safe. I whispered, just like you wanted. And for a moment I could almost feel his hand over mine. Solid. Protective. Proud. When the sun set, I lit another candle. Not out of sorrow, not out of waiting, but out of choice. The flame flickered, and I realized something. This wasn't the end of a story. It was the beginning of a new one, a story not written by betrayal, but by survival. The phone rang again that night. Her number. I watched it buzz across the table, but I didn't move. Because forgiveness is not the same as permission, and family is not the same as ownership. I chose myself, my boundaries, my freedom, and in that choice I found a kind of love they could never take away. So here I sit, in my home, with my memories, with my truth. And I ask myself, what is family really? Is it the blood that betrays you, or the courage you find to stand alone when no one else will?